Okay, so good morning, everyone. Geez, there's some heat out today. It's almost 8 o'clock. We're just waiting for lads to arrive for us to get kicked off. We're gonna lean against a fertilizer bag, but it's in the sun, and boy, is that too warm. Today we're at Bales, and we have a lot going on. We have machines hired in, trying to pick up the slack. So here's most of today's lineup. There's the wrapper, there's MX on our baler, the Matthew Ferguson. It's a 3130F, I thought it was oh yeah, it's an RB round baler. And then here's the welder baler we've hired in. It's a 245 Profi, so it's just the same as ours, just with different panels and whatever few differences Massey made. And we're running it on the 6485. And then we have the 5120 on rented in Cavernaland. It is a Cavernaland Tarp 9472C. Seems like a fairly good machine. And then here we have our McHale on the 3645. Yeah, so we have the hay fleet and the I'm just staring at the sky there. We have the hay fleet and the silage fleet today. So the JCB, the MX and our baler, and the McHale are going at silage, while the Lely, the 645 and the Cavernaland are going at hay. And around the middle of the day, the MX and the Lely will go at hay, and the JCB will park up for a few hours. The Celtic will only be out for about an hour today, so nothing too dramatic going on there. Yeah, we've had a good week in getting through work, but we've had a few issues. This glass here being one of them. Just fell off the door. Just the silicone gave in, so we'll have to get that sorted. But with the heat that's going on, it's no harm letting a bit of fresh air in. Another one was that we had a little bit of a run-in with this lad here. It got a little twisted. But anyway, we'll it happened Friday at the new part. Saturday, fitted it yesterday. I have it back on today. So we had a different McHale. Ours is at 6878, so we can push it out full for the silage harvester, whereas we had a 6272 hired in. And then we had this yesterday as well, running with the two balers. Running ahead of two balers. Sorry, running ahead of one of the balers, so we could run the two balers. Oh, it looks like I backed in over a ramp there when I was lining everything up. Baler could do with a wash. Hopefully we get a bit of rain next week and we'll be able to wash everything down and get everything blown down. There's a couple of days worth of grass built up on that. And then this is the other thing that happened. The poor JCB. But it was supposed to latch here, and for whatever reason, going down the road, it unlatched and around and smash. Absolute nuisance. The biggest nuisance was trying to get spoon brushes and shovels and all that around to get it all cleaned up, but let's not go there. So yeah, I don't know. We don't usually line up machinery like this. It was just I was out getting things ready, and just so I knew when things were ready, I just parked on this slab of concrete, and just everything was lined up and ready here now. So yeah, we just, because the two balers are the same, I'm just going to do a quick comparison between the two for you. Okay, so ours is the 2019 Matthew Ferguson RB 3130F, whereas this is a 2000 and I think it's a 12 or 13 Lely Welger RP 245 Profi. So ours has extra cut stamped inside. So when Massey took over, they discontinued the Profi line and brought out the extra cut 17 or extra cut 25. And the extra cut 25 is the same as the Profi. So that means that's got a 25 knife bank instead of the traditional 17 like we had in our previous McHale baler. Both these balers are running the same tyres of Where are we going? 500s, 50s, 22.5s, and ours are 500s, 50s, 22.5s. They have the same. Oh no, so they don't. That's a 2.2 meter pickup versus ours is a 2.4 meter pickup. It's only an extra 20 centimeters, but it does help the bottom line. Then there's the carry system. Is well, sorry, this is their ladder here, which I find really handy. Versus this is our big ladder here. Up there. And there is still, I like the that, and I always wanted it for when I was, as you can probably guess, I was a small child. Not child, but mostly quite small. But when I was 16, I wasn't as strong as, say, my father. And on the McHale, where the bale, or where the netting was carried here, and then you had to try and lift it up over the thing to get it in, it was very difficult. And that was one of the main reasons I wanted to buy the Lely at the time. But anyway, my father was in charge at the time, and he bought the McHale. So I always like this. So you open your panel, you slide your roll of netting in, and then this hinges like that, and it'll just drop that into where the netting goes, and away you go. They're both using the same netting system. On this thing, it's just a different panel, and the same with the different panels. One of the things I do like about our baler versus this baler is that, as standard, it comes with a carrier on the side, so we can bring 2 full rolls of net and whatever in it, whereas on this one you can only bring the 1 full roll and whatever's in it. So it's a bit of a nuisance, but you know, there's no well, at hay is a different story in straw, but at silage is no big advantage, because, sorry, for us running 2 balers at the moment, the wrapper's not going to keep up with 2 balers. 2 balers will pump out 80 to 100 bales an hour, whereas the wrapper doing well will do about 50. Unless it's just wrapping them and dropping them, not stacking them. So you know, at that kind of an output, it's not going to, you're not going to do 500 bales a day. So you know, it's not too bad. One of the big differences between the two of them, I'll move back to the back of that baler here, is that on this baler there's 2 rollers on the floor underneath, so that when the door opens up, there's still 2 rollers sitting where the grass comes in, right here, right there, whereas on our baler the door is further forwards and there's only 1 roller right there. And Massey's idea behind that is that it's easier for the bale to eject, because it's not sitting on the 2 rollers in there, it only has the 1, and it has to hinge out. But the problem I'm finding with it is that it takes longer then. So the 2 balers, we had this exact baler out last year as well, and the 2 balers were taking grass at the same speed, or straw or whatever it was, but he was able to take off sooner than I was, because he only had to have his door down some of the way before he could start, because the 2 rollers had started making the bale. Whereas because I need my door in fully to get the 2 rollers, I couldn't start off, so I was losing 5 seconds every bale, and he was gaining it. So after, after 12 bales, he had another bale on me, and after a day, that's a big difference. And he'd never had an issue kicking a single bale out. I think that baler done probably 5,000 bales for us last year, and didn't skip a beat, and neither did ours. Well, that's not true actually, because we were in one spot. We were in one spot with them, with 2 balers. The 6485 was on this baler, and the 6490 was on ours. And I was baling because I'd finished combining for the day. Ours was up to date, and was up to date, and we were in a 20-acre field, 2 balers, tipping away through it, and about 10 acres left, my netting started giving bother, and I spent probably half an hour trying to sort it, and there was only an acre or 2 left by the time I got back to him. So, you know, we'll see how our baler gets on in straw this year, but the netting on ours seems very, very pernickety, and that's why we only use that green netting. We used to use Tama on we used to Tama edge to edge on the McHale and the class before that, but we have to use this green stuff on ours. And it's funny because the Lely baler isn't as fond of it as our Massey baler. So when it's here, we have to make sure we have a roll of Tama sitting around just in case. So it's just an interesting one. But that's just the two balers. Like, they're supposed to be the same, just, you know, a few years in the difference. As you can see, they're both carrying a good bit of grass, so that'll hopefully be cleaned down next week. If we don't get a wet day next couple of days, we're just going to have to start a bit earlier and blow them both down and get all the netting. See the bit of netting dangling from the pickup. I have to get all that sorted. So anyway, so that's the balers. The air conditioning on the 6485. Yeah, I seem to have been the most fortunate one to have to drive the machine that doesn't have the air conditioning. Like, it's not amazing, but it's good. Not amazing, but it's there. But when you open up the sunroof and the side windows, you know, dust gets in, you're grand. Anyway, I won't do a comparison between the McHale and the Kverneland because there is no comparison. The McHale is a bigger machine, it falls out wider. But I will say I was driving the Kverneland yesterday. Just one of the lads went to get his vaccination, so we disinfected the tractor and I got up and went off sorting, and it's a very nice machine. I won't say anything different, but that'd turn on a dime against that. That has got a great steering axle on it, but it's amazing what that'd do. I would strongly consider one for next. When I go to change that, or when I start thinking about it, I'm definitely going to ask for a demonstration model of the Kverneland. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Today's baling, today's outfit. Next week we have more hay to make, we have more bale size to make, and we have more pit size to make. And on top of that, combine's coming out. So stay tuned.